That's that one beat.
So Abe, here we are backstage, leaving the stage, heading to your warm-up area.
Yeah.
And you have a setup at every show to get loose.
Definitely. Yeah.
What is it? What's your routine?
That's a good question. So, I mean, this whole last couple years, we've made a record. We've been doing a lot of one-offs. You know, we haven't really been on tour for a while. So, of course, pre-tour, try to get back in shape. Hydration, eating just enough. You know, but the protein and just really staying hydrated, man. You know. Yeah. So we have a little warm-up room, which is here.
Thank
for you.
Thank you. Oh, so it's for the whole band. And
yeah, so we had some things we had to do, but also like we're hey, let's after all these years, let's try to be a little bit pro if possible, you know. It was always, and I've always just got up cold, you know, really like when I kind of like, you know, and if you a little bit of age on it too, if you start getting up there a little bit, you know, you need to respect the body and listen to it. And,
right.
But I would always just go up cold, you know, and once we're in a groove on tour, then it's like, you know, you're doing it. Oh, it's another night. Okay, let's go. Yeah. So, and I like to think that, but you can tell when you're not too. And it's just so important to listen to yourself, you know. And you know, there was a time when we were wild boys, you know, back in the day too. So we were savage, you know. We got this. Let's go. And you know, but now it's like a little bit more attention to treating each other right and oneself right as well.
Do you use the pad at all, or just the kit?
No, this is set up every day, which is super duper nice. Thanks, crew. Our crew are amazing, and you don't want to like have them set it up every day and not use it, because that's not right. But yeah, so this is our little spot: keyboards, Stefan's guitar, Chino guitar, and bass, and Lance's guitar, and my little spot too. So,
when you think back to the beginning of finding the drums.
Yeah.
Was it your stepdad that inspired you to play drums? How did it start?
Yeah. So my father was a bass player, and my stepfather was a drummer, and my dad passed away when I was 10, and but they would jam together too back in the day, so they knew each other and was introduced. I was crawling around to their gigs, you know, when I was, you know, one. Just, you know, this little
music was just
I was always around.
Memory from minute one.
Fully, yeah. Kitchens, and my mom was a chef and had restaurants, and I was always in kitchens or around some sort of jam or some practice. Yeah, I mean, it's throughout the whole life, you know, it's been about eating and music, man. Yeah. It doesn't take much. You don't need much more than that, you know. Maybe a little sunlight from time to time. But
those are the finest things in life,
totally.
For sure.
But yeah, it was that. So I was always around music, always turn on to things, you know. Always in the restaurants, there was always music back, you know, in the kitchen, of course, and at the house, and you know, everything from, you know, Freddie King to Albert King to the Police to the band. Levon Helm is a huge, you know. I like to think I have a little bit of Levon in me somewhere, you know, but you know, but it was always
listening to him early.
Yeah, but it was just the kind of stuff that my parents were listening to. A lot of R&B and soul from, you know, Stax and Motown stuff, of course, too. And then those drummers, I mean, you can't help but just, you know, would put on the records and play to the records, and those are some of the greatest session musicians that ever played, you know.
And I hear a lot of that in your playing, that groove approach where you lock in, and the drums are just, you know, there's a funkiness, a groove to it, a syncopation, a feel that's not just your typical rock approach. Right. It's more of a funk, Motown, soul-inspired kind of vibe that I hear in your playing, and that's the origin of it.
Definitely, yeah, and always just being turned on. My parents would listen to everything, and you know, and then of course, earlier we were talking about you know, the '80s. You know, I was born in the early '70s, and then the music of the '80s, and most of that was programmed or you know with the Fairlight, you know, and all these
I still
records.
Have a Series 3.
Yeah, what a cool thing. Yeah. Got to knock it around a little bit. DOS, you know. But yeah, and then so thinking back, you know, and then so much organic drumming too, but also that era was, you know, the era of the drum machines, and of course, in my world, in our world, you know, growing up in California, we started this. You know, we were 15 years old when we started Deftones, and
it wasn't your first band, right?
It was. Yeah, it's my first band. I mean, I actually had a band when I was 10. up in Mendocino, where I grew up too, on the coast, and we were called Mindo Corps, and we would wear camouflage. That was our whole get up, and our logo was like the Marine Corps, the anchor, but it was an anchor because we were by this ocean. Instead of an eagle, it was a seagull, and we played. We had, we were 10 and
10 years old.
Yeah, but Deftones was my first band.
Wow, amazing. How did you meet the guys?
So I was born in Sacramento. I moved up when I was a month old to Mendocino up on the coast, and I lived there till I was 10, 11, and I ended up moving back. My dad was ill with so we moved back to Sacramento. Obviously, bigger hospitals and more better medical action for him. And I met Chino, our singer, in the summer of between 5th grade and 6th grade, and I met him that summer, and then we were in middle school, junior high together, 6th and 7th, and then also high school, and we skateboarded, and that was our main connection, and of course music, and
it started the band.
Yeah, and we would have our Walkman, and we would be saving batteries and spinning it on a big pin, for rewinding, and we would sit in math class, and we would pull apart the earbud, and one would go up his arm, and we'd be like listen to Metallica, and
that's awesome.
and one up my ear, one. So yeah,
from a cassette.
Yeah, and our neighborhoods were pretty close, and actually the bus went from my house to Stefan, our guitarist's house, and that was it.
And when you look back at that time period from very, very young all the way through your teens, who were some of your biggest drum influences, actual drummers? Levenhelm, you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, of course, Stuart Copeland, the Police were such a, English Beat, all these different, Martin Chambers, the Pretenders, and these are all the records I would just play that my parents had, or cassettes, Cars, I mean, everything, man,
David Robinson.
Oh yes, David Robinson, and Phil Collins, of course, Genesis and everything, and then it just went on. But then, of course, I started getting a bit rebellious, and I started getting into, more punk and a lot of stuff from the Bay Area, which was very close to Sacramento, an hour drive, and you're in Berkeley, San Fran, Oakland, of course, Tower of Power, all these things. And then, Primus was brand new, when we were starting up. They were probably around for a few years, and that was huge. So Tim early on. And of course, this thing called thrash that was coming out of the Bay Area, with Metallica, obviously Lars, Anthrax with Charlie, of course, all Tama drummers as well, Slayer, David Bardo is one of my ultimate favorite drummers. Stuart, Tama, and David Grohl, back in the day. But yeah, and then Death Angel, all these bands were coming out of the Bay Area, and it was such a storied, and then Santana. I mean, if you look back at the history of music in that town too, and,
so incredible.
Yeah,
it's so impactful.
Yeah,
and you're seeing all of this live because you're actually there in that area.
Yeah,
so you can go see these drummers play, and not just hear them, but
and also growing up, going to concerts with my parents. I mean, first show was Stevie Wonder. Sat on Johnny Hooker's lap when I was a kid. That kind of stuff. They were into that thing, but it was always music all the time, always around, and just. Pink Floyd. My first memory of music ever was pulling out Dark Side of the Moon, and I was probably it came out the year I was born, but I was just learning to walk, and I would pull that one record out
of all the records
and put it on their turntable. Yeah, and I still have it. It's all I don't have the cover for that, but it's all scratched and crayons on it. But I would put it on and hold the speakers, and the speakers were taller than me, and I would just hold on to the speaker and just listen to that record, and that is still in my marrow. It's in my.
Incredible.
It's the nectar, So yeah.
How did you get a drum kit? Was it from your stepdad?
Yeah.
There was an actual kit there.
Yeah, it came to a point where he sort of needed to kind of he took me on and married my mom, and I was 7, and he took the drummers over when I was, and he was working more to support, and it became one of those things where that was it.
It turned into your kit.
Yes. So, and I still have it. A beautiful Ludwig kit. It was his kit. Yeah. Got it at Leo's Music in Oakland, California, back in the day, and. I still have it. It's tucked away. I'm building a studio right now in my house, so I'm going to take all these gems that I've saved and I'm going to set them up in there and have
And then the band starts, and what's the first big break that happens for the band?
Well, funny enough, we started the band when we were 15. We were around for about a year. I left and got a chance to be in a bigger band that we all loved in town. I was studying them, and we were just messing around trying to figure it out. But I was and I remember dying because I had to tell Chino that I got, a chance to be in this band, and I got to quit. And I was, we'd always meet up between like art and second period, and we'd always go take a leak. And I was like, I knew you'd be there because that's where, there was a soda machine here, and we would get and go. We're peeing, and I'm like, dude, I gotta tell you something, man. He's like, what? I was like dying all night. I couldn't sleep all night because I had to tell him the next day. Sure. I was like, dude, I'm joining Fallacy, this band that was in town, and he's like, what? That's killer, man. And that was it. So I left the band for a few years, and then they were getting bigger in town, and then went through some drummers and stuff. I stole their drummer, their bass player went to drums after me. Then I stole him to be in this band with me, Fallacy, and they got another drummer. That lineup was solid until, for many, many years. So I ended up going back. They were having drummer problems and trying people out. They're like, dude, will you just be in the band? I was like, yeah, my band, man, come on. So we went back
and you left Fallacy.
Yeah, and then it was off and running at that point. There was already a little bit of label interest at that time, and we all had day jobs. We were still going to the Bay Area, making little trips to the Bay, and maybe down south to LA for showcases and stuff, and different labels, and down to San Diego. Making a whole thing, and getting back on Monday or Tuesday for work again, and usual thing. Yeah, grinding. So
and believing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was come hell or high water. This had to happen. So there was something about this. Everyone together was all for one, and we were going to do this, man. We were going to do this. So
there was a brotherhood.
Yeah,
and there was a commitment that was shared among everybody, so that there was no one was passive.
We had to make it happen, and this is what it was all about.
And what's the first big gig that you remember playing as a drummer? What was like the big moment, the first one, or maybe not even the first, but the biggest one you remember?
I mean, there's been literally, there's been thousands and thousands of them. I mean, I could say, for instance, like one time, we had done. I mean, the whole thing was playing the next town over. We could sell out in Sacramento anytime, and I'm going to see them. They're playing again on Friday night. So we started, getting to Davis and the Bay Area and Berkeley and that whole and just building. Then it became a thing. Get to the next state, next county, next city, next state, next
and
continent.
Truly, that's a ground game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like playing Risk. You got to you're conquering territory, man, and then another different hemisphere, So all that stuff. But yeah. I can. It's kind of funny because now this tour we're it's all arenas again. We've done arenas in the past, but this tour is just like whoa, man, And I remember the first time we got our first tour bus and first arena show that I remember playing, and it was with Ozzy, and it was in the Gund Arena in Cleveland, which is called whatever it's called now. I don't know. Been 100 names since then. Yeah. And I remember waking up and I knew we were getting our bus.
I think it's the Quicken Arena
it's Rocket.
Something. Oh yeah.
It was Quicken. Yeah.
No, Rocket, right. Rocket Mortgage.
I just like.
But that arena, you were opening for Ozzy?
Yeah, it was Ozzy, and then I remember Randy Castillo was playing drums back then, and
sure.
And
God bless him.
He taught. Oh yes, what an amazing drummer, and what a cool man. He's like Abe, we met, and I would go sit in the back and watch them set up the stage every morning. And, we were opening. We're like, they're like, stay out of the way, kid. But I would just watch them build. And this was a massive rock show back then, but I would sit back and up in the stands and watch them drink coffee, and they would sound check, and I just his movements, those songs were written for rooms like that was, and he's like, I just project to the last person in the farthest nosebleed, and I was playing a lot more busy back then. I was young and antsy, and I still am, but but I was like, so that was a great teaching moment too, just for.
And you remember Cleveland.
Oh,
you remember that show, because that's your first, when you look out and.
But there's been showcases where we thought we were getting signed, and we had a terrible show, and we were sure we were going to get dropped. We weren't even signed yet, but they were like, we fucked it up. It's not going to happen, and just really learning. It's always we're learning to this day. There's so much to take in. There's people you meet. There's people on tour. The young bands on tour now are like me then, and they're not that far apart. But I mean, there's always something. You just talk, communicate with people, and listen, and learn. There's so much to learn.
When you were learning, did you take lessons at any point, or you completely self-taught?
Self-taught. I took lessons for a tiny bit when I was maybe 14 from a guy. I don't remember his name. He wasn't a very nice man, and no? I didn't really dig it. I was already playing.
School-like.
I was already playing, and later in high school I took I was in marching band and jazz band and stuff, so I learned to read, but I was already kind of doing what I needed to do, and he was we were clashing. It's like, I don't
Right.
know.
Right. So you just went back to self-taught.
Yeah, and then in high school, got way into marching band, and we were playing Friday nights at all the football games and going on competitions on the weekends and bus trips and being judged and sweating in my Sergeant Pepper suit. That was some of the greatest times of my life, and that the regiment of that, but also this how strict it was and being judged and being and my school was not a very we didn't have a lot of money, so our gear was pretty beat up. It was great gear, but it was just funky.
Were you playing tritoms?
I was playing snare.
Oh, you were playing snare.
I was.
Okay. And so, what would you tell drummers out there that the number one or top things are that they need to be aware of to have a career, to be a professional drummer? I always say there's a huge difference between professional and amateur, and a lot of times that difference isn't how well somebody plays.
Right.
It's their mind, it's their approach, it's their punctuality, it's their
Fully.
attitude.
Well, punctuality, of course.
It's a lot of things that are not playing that really are the distinction between pro and not.
Fully. Punctuality, of course. You're the drummer. You have all this. You have the most gear. Usually, you got to be there, be ready to and teamwork, man, and have a shared goal. I mean, the whole thing was with us. We got lucky. We went through a few people, but we knew what we wanted. We wanted to play. We wanted to write songs. We wanted to figure it out. We're still learning that now to this day. But having a shared goal, a shared love of what your shared focus, by all means. Chemistry, of course. You hop in a van with someone and start heading out on the road, you'll find out real quick who you get along with, and you want to be able. You need to have that. Of course, everyone's got their moments. Always be.
Sure.
Wake up on the wrong side of the bed sometimes, and you're not the easiest person to be around, but you need to get through where you work through those things. I thought about this earlier, even this morning. I was like, this is, it's different now. It's different than or is it? I don't know. When I was a kid, I mean, now there's everything available. Teaching wise, you can go to YouTube, and I mean, I used to look at Modern Drummer, and I was going it now, and I try to make it big like it's a phone. I try to, but I would go, and you saw what you saw what the camera captured. And then that's how you learn about gear. Like, oh man, I thought he played Zildjian, or whatever. Maybe they switched, but you saw only what the camera gave you,
Yeah.
So, and it kept the quest going. You be curious about that kind of stuff. But is it different? I think it's the same. I mean, if the love of music and what you get from it and what the listener gets should be the same. Delivery system's different. You could reach
Tools are
billion
different.
people, 8 billion people, and counting at the push of a button, which is absolutely amazing. Now, we were a band that caught the last bit of artist A&R and nurturing, being signed by someone that believed in us, and
And who was that?
That was Maverick Records we were signed to.
Oh, okay.
Which was Madonna's label.
Yeah, Gaio Siri.
Gaio signed us. I just saw Guy the other day. Yeah, Gaio signed us, and Freddie DeMann, Madonna's old manager. And,
Yeah, iconic.
Jackson's, Michael Jackson. And, so,
of course.
And that was through Warner Brothers. She was on Sire, so that imprint was through, and we're to this day we're still on Warner after 30-something years of making records. So,
but they actually mentored you as opposed to just signed you and said, send us the record.
Yeah, and during that time we had a few records that came out, and then all of a sudden our third album, White Pony, leaked, and that was leaked. What do you mean? That never happened to us before. So that was the whole start of Napster. A little bit after that, and leaking and the record business tanking. But we were able to receive that belief and that a bit of the dough, which of course was paid back we thought we were signed. It's gonna be great. Everything's perfect now. You started at the bottom rung again when you're signed, and you better be aware of what you're doing with that money
and learn about advances and recoupment.
Yes, and recoupment and the percentage that they recoup at So, but that was a really cool thing, and we were on this label that gave us total freedom. And even Alanis Morissette, that record did so well for Maverick. She was signed right before us, and that freed them up to really just say, go do your thing. And so that was a beautiful thing. We were allowed to do what we wanted, go out and grow, and eventually get off tour support and build our own thing and be self-sufficient. So is it different now? Yeah, it's totally different. But do you need that? Do we need to be on Warner anymore? No, but we've had such a great relationship, so we still use that
that
machine. Yeah, and it's a great thing to have, So, but really, it's about grinding and about
commitment,
commitment to each other too. And
well, that's my point. When you say, has it really changed? I think the answer is when the it is a unified focus commitment and goal
Right.
of a band, I don't think that as the it has or will ever change, because that's the foundation of making a champion, right? Like you look at basketball players, right? And you say, oh, well, you know, the style of basketball is changing and all these things are changing and evolving in the game and there's a lot of evolution.
Fully.
But the core of the heart of a champion and the approach that a champion takes in whatever decade it is the same.
It's the same, yeah.
And I think that's what you're saying, and
Well,
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
And learning to adapt, learning to evolve. You know, I mean, we were caught in this business, and now we figured out how to survive and also, you know, and thrive in a dwindling record business. And we were always a live band, and we were out. Our show could back it up. And there's been a lot of bad shows too. Don't get me wrong. You know, it's you know.
But you've toured like crazy. If you're a live band, then you have to basically live on the
road. You have to want it.
You have to take it to the people.
You have to want it, yeah. But you have to you want it. It's not easy all the time. It's incredibly grueling. Great sacrifice at home, loved ones, being a father on the, you know, all these things that come. You got to be down for it, man. You got to be down. It's not always easy. These are my best friends in the world, and I hate them too, but I love them way more than I hate. You know, but it's a great grind. It's a really, really, really fulfilling grind when it all clicks. But you learn because it doesn't always click, and it's how you adapt to those situations in a group. You know, if you're a solo artist, that's a whole other thing. You know, but I'm with my dudes. You know, and we love each other. But it's you got to figure out how to do that together, and drink water, a couple beers.
Stay hydrated.
But yeah. But for real, yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man.
Abe Cunningham, thank you. Modern drummer. Check out Abe playing all over the world with Deftones. And we'll see you guys again soon. Thanks for checking it out and hanging with us.
Thank you.